Hello friends, today in this tutorial we will be discussing about three ways by which you can save the data to the local storage inside JavaScript. First library is the local storage, second will be session storage, and the third one is the newly created library which is LocalForage. It is basically it's an alternative to local storage, and all these three libraries are extensively used inside JavaScript to basically save data to offline storage. So we will be looking at different examples in this tutorial here. We will be seeing various examples. So the first library is called as local storage. You have seen this library, guys, whenever you make any sort of applications which is related to storing data of the user inside the browser. You use this local storage, which is this is their API. If you go to the MDN documentation, basically you can set the local storage, any item, any variable, any object, any function as well. This is the method it contains, set item. And now to get that item we will have this function get item. Let me just explain you in the code, and let me create a simple index.html file here. We will be discussing local storage versus session storage, and also local forage. This is a alternative to local storage. It's a third party library, local forage, and we will be seeing the various examples of this library. So just stay tuned and basically hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. So the very first thing which comes, guys, is to discuss the local storage API. So local storage, advantage of using local storage, it's simplicity, and basically it's a built-in library inside the Chrome browser or any sort of browser. So you don't need to download this. So inside your script.js, basically, now to implement this, we will first of all look at local storage. So local storage is nothing but, as I already told you, it's a way of storing useful information about the user inside the browser. And now to initialize local storage, it's very simple. Let's suppose we have a variable that we need to save, name of the person. So we can say this is a name here. We need to save this on local storage. So we can simply say here local storage dot set item, and here we can put a key value pair here basically. So the key will be simply what you are storing. So in this case we need to store the name and the value. So value will be name, actual value that we are storing inside the browser. So we have set this. Now to get this value we can simply console log the data, the name coming from local storage is, and now to get this name, guys, we can simply store it inside another variable which is local name. So local storage dot get item, and here you just need to provide the key pair. So what we need to do, we need to only get the name here. So we will just provide the key value here, key here we are providing, and simply now we can simply console log it. So if you now execute this index.html file, guys, inside the browser, so just go to the console, and basically if you check here you will now see the data which is stored inside local storage. The name coming from local storage is John Williamson, the actual name that we stored here you will now see. So this is a very basic example, guys. In this case we are storing a simple string value here inside local storage. So basically this is a string value, string name. So we have given this key value pair here. This is the key and this is a value that we are storing. This can even be a number. Let's suppose I change this to a number and I give it a value of 15. So here I can replace number. So it can even be a number, guys. You will now see the name is 15. So it can be any data type. It can even be a floating point number 1.5 as well. You can see that. It can even be an array as well. So let's suppose we need to store an array inside local storage. We can simply say here is list of values we have 1, 4, 5, 7, 8. So this is an array. And now to store this array inside the local storage, it's very simple. We will pass the array here. So basically we are console logging it. So just wait. So this is an array. In this case, we are storing, guys. Now, if you execute this application, what will happen now inside local storage? If you go to the console, you will now see the array will be returned to us, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even store arrays as well. And also, we can even store a user object. This contains two properties, name and age. This is very journal programming. This is a JavaScript object, so we need to store this, so we can simply pass user object. So now we need to get this object, so we will simply say user object. So we can console log this. We can rename this to user object. So you can see that, guys, if I refresh it now, basically what will happen now, so this is the object which is returned to us. So in this case, what we can, in order to get the key value, we will simply say user object dot name. So this will actually get the name of to us, which is in this case will be Gautam. So you can now see it is saying it is undefined. So this is the very basic question, guys, how to store an object to a local storage. So now to do this, guys, first of all, we need to convert this to a JSON stringify. We need to pass this user object to this method, which is JSON stringify. So this simply converts this to a JSON object, this JavaScript object to a JSON object. If you're facing any sort of issues, you can chat in the live session, guys, ask questions. So after converting it to a JSON object, we can now get this object, and now we need to convert this to a JSON JavaScript object. So we will use json.parse. And now if you execute this, basically what will happen now, it will now print out the name to us. You will see the name will be printed out, which is in this case, it's just Gautam. So this is the easy way by which you can even store an object, complete object, guys. So this object can contain millions of properties here, even nested objects, arrays as well. So this is a name property, age property. So first of all, we need to use json.stringify to convert this JavaScript object to a JSON object. And then when we are getting this object from the local storage, we again need to parse it to again a JavaScript object. So then we are using json.parse. And then to access individual properties of an object, we are use the dot syntax. You can see here dot syntax we are using. So by so this is the dot syntax here. Basically, this is a syntax which is used to access an object. So this can even be an array of objects. So let's suppose we have an array of objects. So just put a comma here, and this can be an array of objects as well. So now we have two records out there, guys. You can now see inside this user object. So this is an array of objects, not a single object. So it contains two records. And now we need to again follow the same process. We need to first of all convert to a JSON object by using json.stringify. And whenever we get this, we need to parse it to JavaScript object. So now in this case, we will simply say user object. We can use a for each loop here because it's an array of objects. So user object, for each user, we can simply console log the user.name. That's it. So now if you refresh the application, what will happen out? It will print out both the names of that array of objects. You will now see Gautam and John is printed out one by one. So it's an array of objects. So we are storing it inside local storage now. To access it inside the data which is stored in local storage, we are using get item. So in order to set the item, we use set item. So these two methods are very much important in local storage in order to save data and now to get the data. So basically we are printing out this. So now, the nice thing about local storage, guys, basically it stays whenever the user is there. Local storage, if you see what is local storage, you will find out the meaning here. So if you say local storage expiry time, so basically this data that you store has no expiration time. So that's the advantage of using local storage because it doesn't have an expiration time. The data which is stored in local storage persists till the user manually delete it. So if the user manually delete it, then only this data will be deleted. Otherwise, it doesn't have any expiration time. In case of cookies, cookies does have any sort of time that is assigned to it. Let's suppose 24 hours, 48 hours, but this local storage data is time limit. It doesn't have any expiration time. So if you refresh the page, let's suppose we have uh, let me display this data inside a div. So we can simply say result. So inside this result, we will be basically be having a result. So we can first of all target this result document.query selector. So after getting this reference, we can inside this for each loop, we can concatenate you can simply say here inner HTML user.name. So if you now refresh it, guys, you will now see this data will be printed out on the screen, Gautam and John. And if you try to refresh the page, it will stay. If you try to refresh the page here, you will now see the data will not be gone. So it is behaving as if it is stored inside a database, but still it is stored inside the user browser. And some questions are there. Neeraj is asking, a local storage is a storage which is found at local place. Can you repeat? Local storage has no expiration time. If you now, let's suppose you close the browser. Let's suppose I close this browser. Once again, open this. Once again, open this application. You can see still this data is persisting. So now you can see the data is not gone. So it is behaving as if it is stored inside a database. If I close this window once again, open all these windows once again, and again if I open this with, you can see the data is still there. Now if I close this browser, let's suppose I try a different browser. I open an incognito window. This is a completely new window here, and if I try to open this application inside this window, let me copy this address inside this incognito window here. If I try to paste the address, what will happen? Well, you can now see once again this data persists. So it is very much useful, guys, in those situations if you want to make such as Omegle kind of app websites, Omegle is a very good example. Omegle makes use of local storage a lot. It doesn't store your user data inside the MySQL database. Basically, it's a completely stranger-based website. And if you click the text button here, every time when a user connects, automatically your user data is deleted once the session is over. You will see. This is completely stranger. You are talking with a stranger. So in this, we are using local storage basically to store the data about the user session. So here the user doesn't have a username, so it is just having that connection data. So in those situations, guys, in these applications, local storage persists. And I found it to be a very important concept in web development. Definitely, we should definitely learn it. 7 people are watching the stream, guys. Not even a single person has hit the like button. Please hit that like button. Why you people are not liking that content? Please subscribe the channel as well, and also hit the like button, subscribe the channel, and hit that like button. Please, I am just requesting you guys, because if you haven't hit the like button, YouTube will not recommend this live stream to more and more people, and more and more people will not join. So definitely hit that like button, subscribe the channel. This is my blog post where I explain in detail about that new library which is called as LocalForage. LocalForage is again a very alternative library, guys, which is LocalForage, not LocalStorage. It does the same thing, but it's an external library. It offers some slightly different features. It uses a database called as IndexedDB and WebSQL, and it is built using a simple but powerful API. This is their GitHub page, and I found it to be very good. They can also be used in callbacks, promises, and async await can all the syntax are supported. They can even used in TypeScript as well. If you want to use it inside TypeScript, it can also be used. But local storage can't be used in TypeScript. So this is the one advantage of this using this external library of LocalForage. It is similar to local storage, guys. All the methods that are same, but it is external library. Which thing I need to repeat? Aiki Siva, can you tell me which thing I need to repeat? I will repeat it for you. So you can even start multiple instances, store the data, get the data. All the things remain the same, but still it's external library. We will discuss it completely in detail with examples. Let's suppose first of all we need to discuss about local storage, how local storage plays an important role. So now we will come, guys, how to remove items from local storage. So let's suppose, guys, if you want to remove the item from a local storage, let's suppose we have a button which is available. So let's suppose I give a button to the user to remove the data from the local storage. So we can simply say remove data from local storage, or we can simply say remove data. So we can bind a on-click event handler, guys, to this. So when we click this button, a remove method will be executed on the JavaScript side. So we can define this method, which is function remove. So here, guys, what will now we will say that simply we will say we need to remove this user object. So if you just simply call this local storage dot remove item, this is the method which is available inside its API. And here you just need to provide the key, which key you want to delete. So in this case, we need to remove this user object, which is there here. It's an array of objects. So we need to remove this user object from local storage. So we will simply type here user. So this will actually remove that item from the local storage. If you want to clear out all the items, guys, then we will simply say that local storage dot clear, like this. This will complete all the data. It will clear out all the data which is there inside local storage. So these are the two methods which are there. If you want to remove a specific item, then we have this method remove item, which is user. So this will remove this user object, guys. So now what will happen here, if I now open this index.html, and if I try remove data, nothing happens. If you see, if I refresh the page, the data is gone. If I see, data is still there. Why the data is still there? Let me open this in a new tab. just to cross check. So you can see that the data is still there, guys, because I think the reference is not defined here. We need to store this reference here somewhere else. So local storage, let me use this clear method, guys, which remove all the, if you call the clear method, guys, this will remove all the items from the local storage. If you refresh it, click remove data and try refreshing the page, you can now see still the data is persisting. Let me see, guys, what is the error here. I think there is some kind of problem which is there. It's a key value pairs. You can see set item, get item, and here is also a, so please hit the like button, guys. Subscribe the channel as well if you're watching it for the very first time. So return value object. So let me see the examples which are there. Local storage, remove item example. So this is the method, guys, which lets you remove a specific item from the local storage, remove item, and here you need to provide the key value here. I think we are forgetting the window keyword. So window keyword should also be present. So window dot local storage dot remove item, and then we need to remove this user object. So here we are calling this remove method when we click this data. So refresh it. So let me console log a message, guys, in the console. Oh, sorry. You can now see, guys, there is this error which is taking place. The key was difference. The key was user object, not the user. So we were providing wrong key. So here we need to provide user object. So just provide the correct key here, guys, which is user object. If you now do this and try refreshing the page, click this data, and if you refresh it, क्या है जो local storage remove data. So if you have any sort of questions in the live chat, you can also ask in the comment section, guys. So I don't know why it is not removing it from the local storage. If I, let's suppose, want to empty the cache, so you refresh it. Local storage dot remove item. Anyone here, can you tell me the solution to this problem? Why the local storage item is not deleting if I am making any sort of syntax error inside JavaScript? Basically, this is a syntax to remove the item from local storage. Here you provide the key value, which is user object in this case. User object. I think we once again need to show this on the screen. So right here, basically here we will simply say if condition, if local storage dot get item user object is available, in that case only you need to. If it is not available, in that case we will have a if condition, then we need to set this item just for the very first time. So this will be set the local storage for the very first time. Simply paste this line inside this if condition. If this if condition evaluates to false, if false condition returns here, then only we will set this to the user object to the local storage. And then in else case, we will simply have, if it is already present, we will simply get the item like this. So if you refresh this application now, hopefully this data will work. If you refresh it, now you will see the data is gone. And if you again refresh it, so you can toggle this by this remove data function. So basically, if you understand this code in detail, what is happening right now inside this snippet of code. So whenever we click this remove button, this function executes, which is remove item. So we remove this item from user object, which is an array of objects. If you want to remove a specific property here from, let's suppose I only want to remove this user, which not this user. So what I can do, we can simply say user object uh, uh, for this. Let's suppose we have created here. This is a thing. Basically, we have provided this whole object, this user object. It's an array of objects, and here we are calling it this method remove item. So here we need to provide the key value, the key parameter which we have given whenever we initialize this. So this is user object. So here we have given user object. So this is called for user remove item. So after this, if you try to now display data, this is a function. Now if I try to display this data now, what will happen? Local storage get item user object. So we will simply display data here, or we can simply say result dot inner HTML is equal to local storage dot get item user object. So it will be basically equal to null. That's why. So if you try to run this application now, if you hit this remove button, you will now see. You can toggle this basically. So this is the application, guys, all about local storage. Hopefully you have learned something. Please hit that like button, and also if you have any sort of questions, you can ask in the comment section. So we can even have an input field out there. Basically, we can set this input type to text. We can set the username. Name is equal to username, and it should be required. So basically, whenever we click this button, which is, let's suppose we have a submit button to submit user. So when we click this button, we need to on click, we need to add user. We will make this function. So right here, we will make this function now. So currently you will now see the user object will be empty. This is a empty array here. So this will contain all the users. And here, if I need to add this user now, basically we will add this user here. So we will simply say here users, we will get the value of the username. So which will be document.query selector, query selector. And here we have given the ID. If you see closely, notice we have given this ID, which is, sorry, give it a ID of username. So provide this ID username. After getting the reference, we can get the value like this. So now we can push this to the array. So we can simply say users dot push username. You can now see users is a array here. So this contains a method which lets you push entries. And also we will be initializing, we will set the local storage set item. We will set the item here basically which is usernames, and this will be equal to users. That's it. So here we can even have a if condition, guys. If you see, if already we have this local storage, if this usernames is empty, if this condition is true, then we have local storage is empty. So we are creating it for the very first time. So, we will simply say local storage dot set item. uh, which is usernames to user, like this. And in the else scenario, what we can simply say here, again we need to update it to the existing array local storage dot set item username users. So this time what we need to say, inside users we need to pass here uh, users dot push local storage dot get items. We will use the spread operator, guys. If you see the spread operator, basically the syntax of spread operator is something like this: dot 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 followed by the array which is users, and then the entry which needs to be added local storage dot get item, or we can simply say local storage dot get item users, and then the entry which is username. That's it. And then we can display the data using for each loop. We can use the, for each user we can simply print out result.innerHTML plus is equal to, so here we can simply say that user dot name. That's it. So if you're watching it for the very first time, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe the channel. So we have this remove button as well, so which actually remove the, so first of all I will see the add button if it is doing it or not. Click submit user. You will now see it is coming out to be undefined. Let me see, guys, what is the problem here. Sorry, this needs to be dot dot dot. Get item users. So users will be equal to local storage get item users. Then we will say users dot push username. So this is all about local storage, guys. Uh, then we come to their counterpart, which is LocalForage. LocalForage is also pretty simple. This is, I think it's a third-party library, and for this you need to include the CDN. So if you go to my blog post, which is given in the description of this live stream, so where I have explained step by step here. So kindly visit that link if you are interested in reading that blog. I have pinned this message. So the very first thing, guys, inside LocalForage, first of all, we need to initialize the thing called as version number, name, and database. First of all, include the CDN, which is so you can see you can even use this library on the Node.js side as well. This is a command npm I localforage. So after you include this CDN right here inside your index.html, just after the body, so inside script.js, guys, first of all, if you see local forage, so here you need to set some configuration options, which is very much necessary. So we call this as config. So these all this information is required, guys, in this scenario, which is the name of the database, version, description, size, store name. So all these information you can use here instead of a web SQL. You can even use IndexedDB. So local storage, web SQL. So after you set this configuration object, guys, now you can easily use local forage, and it contains this method which is set item. And if you want to set the name to John, so this is a method. This callback function will execute holding the error and the data. You can see that. So basically, if no error take place, then we can simply say, or we can, if any sort of error take place, then we can return. Else we can get that data, which is local forage, get item, name. So if you try to console log this, so if you try to check the console, guys, you will now see a promise is returned to us. So now to handle this promise, guys, we need to use a dot then syntax. So here this is returning a promise. So we will use dot then to get the value, which is console log value. So this is the promise page approach, guys, and if you try to refresh, So in the console, if you see, John is printed out, exactly what we wanted. We have given this local forage this name property to John. So like this, we are getting this item name here. You can now see this can even be a user array. So this is an users array, guys. You can even set this, which is very simple. Just replace your users. After that, this name parameter can be written here. So in the similar manner, you can even create an object as well. So instead of this, we can pass an object. And once again, we need to convert this to a JSON object by JSON.stringify. So JSON.parse, we will parse it. So if you try to execute this now, so here we can simply say value dot uh, ty. This will should print out 82 on the screen. So many people, you can now see it is saying syntax error. So this is the first way by which you can do this. You can even do this by promises. So if you copy paste the same code, so this is a callback, not a callback. So this can return a promise. So here the error and value will be there. So again, we will simply say here, if no error take place, return get item, and we need to get the item name. This again will return a promise. So this needs to be val dot. So here, let me delete this callback one. So if you open this now,